Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadri ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Bhramara Gītā ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur So, good afternoon to all of you, good evening from Sofia, Bulgaria, to all the ones also present online. And as usual, every Monday we are continuing with our series of lectures about Bhramara Gītā. If you may recall, last Monday we shared some very interesting insights in connection to the song of the Bumblebee, where Sri Radha speaks in Divyan Mat or divine delirium to a bumblebee, taking it as messenger coming from Sri Krishna, who is in Mathura at this moment. So this is considered by many Gaudiya Acharyas as the most cryptic and mysterious and important section of the whole Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is found in chapter 47 of the 10th Canto. And it encompasses mainly 10 verses from 12 to 21. So today we will be studying the penultimate verse of the Bhramara Gītā, verse number 9 from the Bhramara Gītā, which is verse 20 in 47th chapter of the 10th Canto. Today's meeting number 14, because we have 5 introductory classes before starting with each verse. And as usual, we will make some brief recap in connection to what we saw last Monday, just in case to reconnect with the flow of the topic and the verses. So in the previous verse, which was the 8th verse of the Bhramara Gītā, remember Sri Radha told in the 7th verse, Sri Radha told, after the 7th verse, in between the 7th and the 8th, the Bumblebee told Sri Radha, okay, you are criticizing Krishna so much, but why you did not say all these things when you joined him when he was here in Vrindavan? So she replies in the 8th verse that we saw last week. She's saying, faithfully taking his deceitful words as true, we became just like the black deer's foolish wives, who trust the cruel hunter's song. Thus, we repeatedly felt the sharp pain of lust caused by the touch of his nails. Oh, messenger, please talk about something besides Krishna. So again, in this verse, Sri Radha was hiding her parakiya love for Krishna by way of presenting it as if it were lust. We are being affected by the sharp pain of lust because of having entered in touch with that lusty boy. So, or birds of the same feather flock together. So you enter in touch with someone lusty, you became lusty. But of course, as we mentioned, here we are not speaking about lust at all. We are speaking about the highest degree of love called Kama Rupa Bhakti. This is a type of bhakti which takes the form of lust and hides its own glory in its humility, presents as if it were the opposite, exactly. But actually we are speaking about the highest level of dedication and selflessness. Suprema tends to hide itself. That's the nature of love. It tends to hide itself. And non-love tends to boast. You say in English, here I am, I love you. Look, world, the whole world has to hear, I love you. And the world will reply back, let's see in some weeks. even less than that. But Sri Radha will never say I love you. Krishna will never say I love you. They will like to love each other, but they feel we don't love each other. We could love each other so much more that I don't have the courage to say I love you. And as we mentioned, a real love, self-forgetfulness is there. So I love you. That doesn't make sense with the psychology of love. You and I became we. So Sri Radha creates some parallel between herself, the gopis, and the wives of the black deer. The black deer is called Kṛṣṇa also, because Krishna means black as well. So the Krishna Sara, the black deer. and his wives. So the gopis present themselves, Radha present herself for the gopis as Krishna's wife, like implying, we thought you accepted us as your own, but now we realize you belong to someone else. You are with someone else, very immature and so on. So as we mentioned, in Tattva, gopis are swakiya with Krishna. In actual truth, beyond the lila, or not beyond, but besides the lila, the gopis belong to Krishna, and Krishna only belongs to the gopis. They do not belong to anyone else. But in bhava and rasa, in lila, the gopis belong to someone else. That creates the whole, or the dynamic of parakiya. So Sri Radha says here, we believed you. We thought you were a very noble person. We believed your words when you say to us, I'll return. Napari ham nirabadya sanjay. I cannot repay my debt with you. Countless times you say that. Countless times we believed you. But now we realize all that is not true. But again, we know it's true. Krishna is not lying. Sri Radha is speaking in Divyan Mad. Remember, bearing context. Madness, put madness in its proper place. So she's speaking from all of this emotion that may seem totally ordinary to the uninformed eye, only speak about different types of sanchari bhav, assistant, ecstatic feelings that help to the sthayi bhav, the main emotion, to be nourished. So at the end, she will say the bumblebee, oh messenger, upamantri. The word upamantri means messenger. So please speak about something else about Krishna. And she also uses the meaning of the upamantri word can also be jester, like buffoon, like jester. So criticizing the bumblebee or criticizing Uddhava, who was there, like he was the official messenger there. The bumblebee was just humming, buzzing like a bumblebee. He was performing his dharma, buzzing. But Sri Radha took him as the messenger and was having all this dialogue. And the official messenger, Uddhava, was like, is she speaking to me? I'm the messenger, but... So Sri Radha will criticize the messenger in this way. Oh, buffoon, jester, speak about something else about Krishna. We all know all this old story about him. Say something more. So this verse is mentioned that this represents an example of what's called ajalpa. Remember, each one of the 10 verses of Bhramara Gītā represents one of 10 types of chitra jalpa. Chitra jalpa means math talks, spoken by, in this case, Sri Radha, in the highest peak of devotional love. So this one is ajalpa. Rupa Goswami defines ajalpa like a statement spoken in disgust, describing how the male lover is deceitful and brings one misery, and that one should stop talking about him and talk about something more pleasant instead. There's all these ingredients, all different spices properly put together, represent the masala called ajalpa. We concluded our previous meeting also speaking further about the glories of separation, how separation is not only one aspect of union, because sometimes people may say, oh, separation is there to enhance the joy of union. So it's subservient to union. But Vishwanath says, but why then it is considered separate rasa in itself, a separate department of emotional department? Vipralamba rasa, sambhog rasa, separation, union. And he said, because separation in itself is unique and it is joyful. So, and he describes it as, at one point, like an abundance of union. That's what actually takes place in this so-called separation. Externally, there is separation, there is tragedy, if you will, but internally, all these revelations and spurities are taking. All the emotions, as we know, in union with someone, even in this world, your feelings exteriorize, you say, expressed outwardly. Externalize, thank you. But in separation from your beloved, all your emotions internalize and start to condense there and become more and more thick, distilled. And union, so there, it's a rasa of its own, basically. And we concluded mentioning how Sri Radha, even he may speak in these terms as if criticizing Krishna, she's also finding his lampata twa, or his playboyhood, if you will. So charming, so attractive, so pleasurable. She lives to serve that idea. So this is the dynamic, meeting, separation, sometimes expressed in terms of man or avishar. When Sri Radha is resisting Krishna, for some reason or without reason, she's angry with him, and avisar, her love journey, when she cannot, nobody can stop her in that direction. So this resistance and attraction are nourishing each other, basically. And it's important to allow the two to express their proper level of function. We also mentioned that. Srimad Mahaprabhu ki jai. So if Radha and Krishna are separated, then Sri Radha is in man, angry with Krishna, but her man is not broken at the proper time, Krishna may die in separation. That will never happen, but if hypothetically speaking, they say, no, the highest peak of separation has to reach some purpose, and when that's reached, now separation can be broken and vice versa. So in this verse that we are summarizing from the last week, at one point Sri Radha said to the bumblebee, so, oh, buffoon jester, stop speaking about Krishna, speak about something else. And if you don't know about, if you have not learned to speak about anything else apart from Krishna, then disappear from my view. Get out of here. No? Basically, Sri Radha implied that. Leave this place right now. So, casually, according to Srila Sridhar Swami, at that moment, the bumblebee goes away for a moment. So it seems that he's replying. Sri Radha says, if you don't know anything else about Krishna, get out of here. So it seems that the bumblebee is saying, okay, and starts to fly away somewhere else, basically. And then comes back for a minute. So the verse that we will study today is expressed in the context of that particular situation, where the bumblebee seems to leave for certain reasons, according to Sri Radha, as we will see, and return with certain reasons, according to her. Basically, she will think, oh, he heard all these abusive words of mine, and now he left to tell all this to Krishna. And now he's returning. Oh, he's so kind. He has returned. He has forgiven me, or so on. So she will speak today's verse where she starts addressing the bumblebee as Priya Sakha, which in this case means, oh, friend of my beloved. So there will be a shift in mood, at least for the first lines. Then she will come back to normal, if you will, and continue doing her transcendental bowling. So I will share the verse with you, with those of you who are connected online in the chat. So please, if someone can share that on the Facebook streaming, there is the verse. I will recite it in Sanskrit, and then we go to the English translation. Again, this is verse 20, 47th chapter, 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, which corresponds with the 9th verse of the Bhramara Gītā, which are 10 verses, the ultimate verse of Bhramara Gītā. So the verse says like this: Priya Sakha Punar Aga Priya Saprasita Kim Varaya Kim Anurundi Mananiya Simenga Nayasikatham Mihasmandustya Jadwandva Parsham Satatamburasi Somya Srirbadu Sakamaste. So Sri Radha speaks to the bumblebee saying, oh, friend of my dear one, has my beloved sent you here again? I should honor you, friend. So please choose whatever boon you wish. But, now comes again the switch. But why have you come back here to take us to him, whose conjugal love is so difficult to give up? After all, gentle bee, his consort is the goddess Sri, or Lakshmi, and she's always with him, staying upon his chest. So this is today's verse, Sri Radha addressing the bumblebee. First of all, again, saying Priya Sakha. Priya Sakha means, oh, again, dear one. I mean, of my dear one, of my beloved Priya Sakha. Oh, you are the friend, my beloved one, of my Krishna, like implying, oh, my beloved sent you back, oh, my friend. Punar means again. You have been sent back again, basically. Once again, you are here. Aga priyasa prasita kim. Aga means you have come. You have come again. Priyasa means by my beloved. Presita Kim. Presita means sent. So you have been sent by my beloved. Here. Sent is to say, Baraya Kim Anurunde. Anurunde, sorry. Mananya Simenga. So Baraya means please choose. So you have come again. That's your generosity, my beloved's generosity. So now comes the blessing. Please choose. Baraya. Kim. Whatever. Anurunde. Anurunde means whatever you wish. Please, whatever you wish. Choose. Mananya Simenga. Manaya means like to be honored by me. Like I will honor your choice, basically. I will give you whatever you ask for me. She's telling to the bumblebee. Si me anga. So asi me anga. Asi me anga means asi you are me for me. Anga. Anga means like very dear. Anga in Sanskrit means like a limb of the body. So as an arm is a limb of the body and it's so close to the body, if you will. If you in Sanskrit, if you tell to someone anga, means you are like my extended limb. You are mere one. So in this way, Sri Radha is addressing the bumblebee, saying anga. So this is the first two lines. No, thank you so much. You have come, my beloved has sent you. You are so dear. Choose whatever boon you wish. Now we go to the two last lines where she can switch back into another half. She say Nayasi katami hasman dustya dvandva parashram. So Nayasi, you are bringing katam. Katam in this case means why. Why you are bringing ihasman dustyaja. Iha here to Braj. Asman us. We are bringing to. Why do you bring? Why do you want to bring us? Basically means to him. You are a messenger. It seems your intention is to bring us back, bring us to Mathura where Krishna is. We'll see these implications in the purpose. Dustyaja dvandva parsham. So dustyaja, this word has been used along the Bhramara-gita many times. Dustyaja means very difficult to give up. Dvandva, in this case, means conjugal connection. And parsham means continues with the next line, to the side. So why you are wanting to take us to him whose conjugal connection is so difficult to give up? You can see the result of our suffering separation from that. And satatam urasi soumya sir badu sakamaste, last line. Soumya, satatam means what? Yeah, always, in this case, always. Satatam, urasi soumya. Urasi means on the chest. Soumya means, oh, gentle one. Again, speaking to the bumblebee. Shri means Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. So always on his chest, the goddess of fortune, Badhu, she qualified that his consort, the goddess of fortune, Sakam Aste. Aste means is present, and Sakam means together with him. So Lakshmi Devi never abandons him, even for a moment, residing on his chest. But we will see that refers especially to the Srivatsa, which is a mark that Krishna has on his chest, golden line, golden, how to say in English? Tuft of hair? Tuft of hair on his chest. So this is a verse, and this is a word by word. So let's go now trying to unpack a little bit the context of this shloka, following our Purvacharyas, if you will, in order of seniority, starting with Srila Sridhar Swami, then Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. Srila Sridhar Swami begins in his Bhavarta Deepika commentary, paraphrasing Shri Radha here, when she's directing to Bumblebee, saying, oh, my dear friend, Anga, or my dear servitor, you are serving me by bringing these good tidings, this good news. Mananiya. Mananiya means I will honor whatever you ask for me, but also Mananiya means you are honorable for me. So sometimes the meanings can change according to the commentator. So Sri Radha says to Bumblebee, you are worshipable for me because you have returned after leaving and coming a message from my beloved. So therefore, please, whatever you like to have, basically. And then it is that she spoke this, says Sri Swami, the third line of the verse, when she says, choose whatever you like, but it seems that you are coming, trying to take us back to Mathura. But they never been there. They want to take us there. So why? Why you want us to leave Braj in first place to begin with, and to take us there when Krishna is reciting with so many ladies, basically? And you want to put us next to him, whose conjugal affection is so difficult to give up. So it's an indirect way of, she's expressing, I don't want to go there, but at the same time she's expressing how much she's attached to Krishna. Saying, so it's impossible to give up his conjugal. He's so consuming and captivating. But again, she will tell us in the form of, it seems, he's criticizing Krishna. It seems so. But he's, and she's doing that actually in the context of the Lila, but ultimately, or as a sadhakas especially, that means she's declaring, establishing how impossible it is to leave her. The sweetness of his company with his Krishna, Kṛṣṇa, Murti, the very personification, Kṛṣṇa Swarup, the very personification of attraction. That was what Krishna means. Here in Bulgarian, you have this word. No, we were speaking the other day. Which was the word?
Krishna means flexible in the waist. Krishna is for men. Krishna is for women. Like, but very flexible in the
Lalit.
So
here in Bulgarian, for those who didn't hear, the word is, how is?
Krishna.
Krishna. Krishna,
Yeah.
Which means flexible in the waist.
Like or how maybe somebody else can.
So you can imagine.
More exact.
That's enough already.
Yeah.
No problem. So quite close.
Krishna means hidden.
Hidden means
hidden.
Krishna
Wow.
is hidden.
Okay, we will have another series on
Yes.
what Krishna means in Bulgaria. Yes. Just sharing with those of you who are connected from other parts of the world, we are in a very interesting Krishna embassy here. Right? He's so attractive, and again, so hidden, because it seems their love is something else, but in a hidden way, there is something else being said, told here, and so on. Crooked, love moves in a crooked way. So it's like Tribanga. Krishna is crooked in his own form, especially when he mentioned yesterday in the Rath Yatra. When he heard Braj-lila Katha, he immediately became crooked. Tribanga Lalita. Because love is crooked. It's not moving in a straight line, but zigzag. Impossible to, unpredictable. So let's continue with Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Vaishnava Toshani, his own commentary to this verse in the Bhagavatam. So it is mentioned by Sanatana Goswami that once the bee disappeared, remember, Sri Radha said, you don't know anything else apart from Krishna, just get out of here. So the bee disappeared. So Sri Radha fainted immediately, according to Srila Sanatana Goswami. So he says, recovering after a short time, after having fainted, because when the bee disappeared, Radha saw the bee return before this verse starts. And it is said that at that moment, Sanatana Goswami says, when Sri Radha fainted, Uddhava started to become desperate by seeing the situation and was quickly to fetch some water for trying to revive Sri Radha and her, recovering from the fainting. So according to Sanatana Goswami, also when Sri Radha saw Uddhava returned, she said, "Oh, my dear friend." So some commentators, Sri Radha is saying that to the bumblebee. And so according to others, she's saying that to Sanatana, to Uddhava. And of course, this creates duality for Uddhava, because she says, "Oh, my dear friend," but then starts to speak with the bumblebee. Or again, Sanatana Goswami gives very different meanings. So Sri Radha also can be telling that to the bumblebee as well, because it had returned. So you are my dear friend. You are coming to assist me. And according to Sanatana Goswami, Radha thought, okay, Krishna sent the bumblebee back. So again, all this according to the time of Earth, this happened in 10 seconds or something like that. But for Sri Radha, the bumblebee had left, went to Mathura, spoke to Krishna, and Krishna sent the bumblebee back, which will take some time, even for a bumblebee. Mathura is not just the next door. So, but for all this happened in a few seconds, and for Radha was like, wow, Krishna sent the bumblebee back. So that's what she says here, according to Sanatana Goswami. Separation from him, she concludes, is difficult. And there's 4 Lakshmis never leaving him. Lakshmi stays with him constantly, again, in this Srivatsa, because she knows how difficult it is to bear separation from him. Like in playing, we know how difficult that is. We are suffering that now. Oh, B, you are so peaceful. So please do not be friends with him. He's not peaceful at all, basically. And that's why Lakshmi never abandons him, because she knows if I abandon him for a minute, who knows what will happen. And then interestingly, Sanatana Goswami gives a whole variety of possibilities. He gives the main version here, no? This happened, the bumblebee left, but now he gives so many other possibilities, no? In the kaleidoscope of Radha's. Wow. So Sanatana Goswami says another option is that the bee actually never left, but was always present. But in madness, Sri Radha thought the bumblebee left. No? So that's another option that is possible. And he says, then when her mood changed, she thought that the bee returned, while actually it was always there. So it has nothing to do with the bee coming or going, but her babas coming and going. So one baba is coming, oh, the bumblebee disappeared. Another baba is coming, oh, here the bumblebee returned. But the bumblebee was buzzing at everything without disappearing. And one option is that one. That happened before. Sri Radha, in each verse, she's hearing the bumblebee saying so many things, while it is said that, strictly speaking, one could say the bumblebee was not saying anything. But her own moods were taking her to project her baba outside and think, oh, the bumblebee is saying this and now saying that, and having a whole dialogue between the two. So Sanatana Goswami continues. In this case, Sri Radha will in lamentation utter this verse and reply to the bumblebee saying, oh, have you returned, being sent by him? Since we are very proud, your desire was not fulfilled. Let that be. It is said that the words of a truthful messenger should never be ignored. Thus, I must respect you. I will do as you want. So now, Sanatana Goswami says, at this point, when Sri Radha says to the bumblebee, ask me whatever you wish, the bumblebee will say, I request you to come to Mathura. Again, all this Sri Radha is hearing. So then Sri Radha will reply to the bumblebee saying, oh, Bhramara, oh, bee, beautiful, you who are Somya. Somya is the name she uses here for the bumblebee, which comes from Soma, like the moon. So beautiful to behold, like the moon. Like she's implying, so beautiful to see you after you have disappeared. Well, the bumblebee was always there, maybe, some version. So Somya also means gentle, which is a connection. Gentle means like the moon rays, like giving new light, giving light in the midst of darkness, nourishing, and so on. So Sri Radha says, oh, you are so gentle and you are so nice, but you have no intelligence, bumblebee, by telling me go to Mathura. You will take us to Mathura, she says. But Krishna there is full with women and all day along with them, and he cannot separate from them. So our going there is useless, Sri Radha speaks, with some transcendental jealousy, we will see, which all are Sanchari Bhav, remember. It's not the jealous we may experience here as Bhada Jiva. No, it's something that is just making her Madhurya Bhav get higher and higher. Sanatana Goswami says that this is a statement of hatred. But again, divine hatred. So it's this point, the bee will reply to her, according to her divine ear. Well, yeah, Krishna, some ladies are there with him, but when you go, he will leave all of them for you. So that's the reply to the third line of the verse. And then Sri Radha will reply, according to Sanatana Goswami, in the fourth line, on the bumblebee suggests, he will give them all up. And Sri Radha will reply, oh, but Lakshmi is always there with him. He will not give up her. She's famous to be in his eternal favorite. So again, she's speaking in divine madness. Sri Radha is her divine, Krishna's divine favorite, but she's speaking and seen as Lakshmi as a competitor lover, basically. So she resides on Krishna's chest, happily there, dominating him. So Sanatana Goswami says this last statement is uttered by Radha with envy. But again, the envy that is Sanchari Bhav, not the envy that is conditioned life. So all these different sanchari bhav means transitory emotions, no? That are compared to waves, no? And the ocean is the sthayi bhav. Sthayi bhav means the main emotion, in this case, that Radha has for Krishna. Which is the main emotion Radha has for Krishna? The permanent emotion. Sthayi means fixed, permanent. Madhurya bhav. Parakya bhav more specifically. So that's the ocean. It's always there. But sometimes waves come in the ocean. And these are known as sanchari bhav, which is transitory emotions, which come and make the ocean tide go higher, if you will. Augment the ocean and then merge back into the ocean, the waves. For a moment, Srila will explain. And all of these sanchari bhav, Rupa Goswami describes them in Bhakti Rasamrita. I think there are 33. So I won't torture you by going through each one. But many of them are these ones, like fear, envy, hatred, jealousy, all the things that we as sadhakas are supposed to transcend. And we are. Only to arrive there someday, some point, and realize, okay, all the things are here back again. Full circle. But all of them expressed in the context of loving Krishna and increasing one's experience of bhava. I know it's not an easy topic, but at least we should know that exists. There is place for that. Transcendence is such a place that even all this most unbecoming stuff here are nourishing rasa there, basically. Vrindavan, one of the meanings of Braj, Jiva Goswami says, is that place where everything is possible. In certain parameters, everything is possible. So since we mentioned Jiva Goswami, let's continue with his commentary on the Bhagavatam in this verse. His Lagu Vaishnav Tosani, and also what he mentions in his Gopal Shampoo. So he says, describing Radha's condition, going back again before the verse. Intoxicated with the state of Divyan Mad, divine madness, due to intense feelings of separation, Krishna's Spurti appeared to Radha. So Spurti means like a, not hallucination, but Krishna appears in front of her, like a vision she has for a moment. So then she showed crooked anger. Jiva Goswami said, when the bee, according to its nature, wandered into another tree. So now Jiva Goswami is another version. Yeah, the bee went to some other place, but not necessarily because Sri Radha said, get out of here, because a bee just cannot remain on the one place forever. So just according to its fickle nature, went somewhere else. So at that moment, when the bee disappeared, Sri Radha showed the mood called Kalahantarita. So Kalahantarita is a mood of the lover, lady lover, Naika, that expresses or feels repentance after being separated from her beloved. The beloved went there and the lady lover was angry with him and told him, go to Haribol. I don't want to see you, right? Get out of here, and so on. And the Nayaka, the male lover, goes sad, and immediately after that, the lady feels, oh, repentance. Why I did that? May he will come back or not, and so on. So this is called Kalahantarita. All these different emotional dispositions in both Nayak and Nayika are really analyzed by Rupa Goswami. His own theology is presented in this context of a dramatic performance. He analyzes the doctrine of rasa in terms of a drama and all these different emotional dispositions and so on. So it's then that Sri Radha speaks this verse here. Gopal Shampoo says that she says, oh, I've been harsh, having used abusive language to Krishna's messenger. All these verses of the Bhramara-gita, one after the other. Because the bee does not understand what I said, it has left. He sent the bee, Krishna, sent the bee back because he has no other lovers and wants to protect us. But I have criticized the bee. I have thrown fire on the lotus of my heart. Then Radha cried, says Srila Jiva Goswami. And seeing that, all her Sakis cried. But then, this is all before the verse, no? Remember. But then looking at the path that the bumblebee took when he disappeared, Sri Radha saw the bee returning, or Jiva Goswami said, or maybe Sri Radha saw another bee coming. In one sense, it doesn't matter, all this is deviant mass. He said he saw the same bee that disappeared returning, or maybe some other bee, bumblebee, came near. So she began to speak with distorted words, mixed with excessive shivering caused by confusion. So it's all like a very condensed mixture of different ecstatic emotions. And she wanted to say, Jiva Goswami say, oh dear friends, the bee has returned. Like Priya Saka Punaraga, the first words of the verse. But it is Jiva Goswami said that instead of that, Sri Radha was not able to say Priya Saka Punaraga, but she said Pi Priya Saka Punaraga. So she was experiencing this like choked voice, you say, and not able to properly pronounce things, basically. So one of them different ecstatic ornamentations there. And Srila Jiva Goswami similarly than to Sanatana Goswami says, again, the bee disappeared because of its nature, or went somewhere else and another bee came, or maybe because of divine madness, Sri Radha fainted out of her own madness and did not search for the bee, or the bee remained there, but not seeing the bee for a moment, she maybe blinked, you say? So in that blink, she lost sight of the bumblebee for a microsecond, and she was thrown into an ocean of despair. Oh, the bee has disappeared, basically. This is the experience of the Gopi, for example, separation of Krishna. Krishna is there and they blink, and that blink they experience subjectively as one age, one eon, like a yuga. And they start to curse the creator of this body, Brahma. Why? What stupid thing must be Brahma thinking at the moment of creating these eyelids? I mean, what he was thinking about? Such a stupid idea, eyelids. And you lose sight of Krishna for 1 second. That feels like an age, an ending age. And they start to curse Brahma. But they are so high that Brahma himself feels ashamed and sings. So Jiva Goswami confirms this idea by not seeing the bumblebee for a moment, for whatever reason. She entered into this kalahantarita mode, like the lady lover, like is repented in separation after quarrel, repented that the love has gone, and she started to be full of fear. Oh, Krishna will now the bumblebee is telling all the harsh words, abusive, bullying. I was saying all the Krishna won't decide to see me again. Because of her nature, Jiva Goswami, of her longing in prem, she cannot but. Like if you love someone, if your mother loves you, like we saw with Yashoda, and you are going somewhere, and she will be like, oh, what will happen to my son? Everything is okay, and call me, and it's okay, and come back. I will put you some more kavachas, and I will make prayer. So Madhurya Bhava, of course, is another mode, but the longing creates this type of divine anxiety, if you will. No? It's an anxiety in the context of friend. It's a solution to all the other anxieties, basically. And Jiva Goswami say, and then the same bumblebee came, or another bumblebee came, or she herself went and searched for the bee and found him. And in joy, she's speaking this verse here. She's speaking this verse. So he then, Jiva Goswami starts to explain this verse himself. So in the first part of the verse, she's praying the bee. In the first half, so the first 2 lines, Sri Radha is praising the bee, like, dear friend, pleasurable friend, basically. You are engaged in helping me, so therefore you are my friend. You are not against me. You came back to me. And Jiva Goswami said that Sri Radha, with a special anurag, with a special attachment, she started to thought about her good fortune. Oh, even though I abused Krishna so much, he's returning to me. I'm so fortunate. Humble. He was in divine humility. And Jiva Goswami then said that she then mentally asked, has my beloved sent you back? And when the word beloved, Priya, she came to utter in her mind the word beloved, she fainted on pronouncing the first syllable of the word, basically. Try to imagine how much you can love someone. She was not even mentioning Krishna's direct name. She was saying beloved, Priya. So when she said Pri, Sri Radha collapsed, according to Srila Jiva Goswami. And again, it is said that Uddhava at that moment, some acharyas say she collapsed when the bumblebee disappears. Some others say she collapsed when the bumblebee reappeared, and she say, "Has my beloved." No end to the sentence. And Uddhava became mad and went to look for water, trying to, and the Sakis went to look for different items, lotus petals, to try to put on her to make her refresh and come back into her senses and so on.
Well, who is speaking then the verse if she faints?
Sorry?
Like the commentator say that she wouldn't.
I mean, she fainted for a moment, no? Now she recovers and continues the sentence. So, has my beloved. So we have some pause there. She's recovering, she returns. And she says, has my beloved, and she is able to complete the whole sentence. Something like that would be the dynamic. So it is said that when she was returning in half state of trance or samadhi, Jiva Goswami say, in that state of fainting, with increasing bewilderment, she spoke as if in a dream, while thinking, oh, how can I repay the thee? Please choose whatever you want. What do you want? I will give you whatever you like. And Jiva Goswami said, interestingly, however, because of her bewilderment, her confused state due to ecstasy, she used the first person in Sanskrit verbal terminology instead of the second person, because she was referring to, oh, you, Bumblebee. But she expressed herself in the first person out of bewilderment. She used the word Anurunda instead of Anunitse. So again, technically speaking, this is a mistake. But beyond the technicality of the verse and taking the essence of it, is an ornament, because it helps to underscore the divine bewilderment Sri Radha was experiencing, which took her to mispronounce, quote unquote, the verse. So sometimes the Bhagavatam describes itself in this way, no? Tadbad visargo chanataga viplavo jasmin pratishloka avadavati api. So Bhagavatam says, this Bhagavatam sometimes it's not necessarily perfectly composed. So we could say this refers to this type of things. Now in some verse, you should have used the first tense instead of the second person, or there is an extra syllable there. That's imperfection, but actually when you understand why the imperfection is there, because of Bhav, you say, oh, that's imperfection. Okay, that's a special perfection of the Bhagavatam. So you will find some of these verses. If you just analyze them as a Sanskritist, technically speaking, this is wrong, but the Bhagavatam is not to be analyzed in that spirit. So when you approach it in the proper way, you realize, wow, everything is perfect here. So then Sri Radha, according to Jiva Goswami, had a spurti of the bee, who said to her, remember, she said to him, what do you want? So the bumblebee will say to her, I desire something. So if you think that friends are non-different, one close to the other, like Anga, as we said before. So I'm the friend of Krishna. You consider myself non-different from Krishna, then give me the following as a gift. Without worry, carefully get on the chariot. Remember, there's the chariot in which Uddhava came to Vrindavan. I desire that you go to Mathura. I will take you there and I will place you on the left side of Krishna, as usual. Sri Radha reciting on the left side, the Shakti is on the left. And then it is said on the second half of the verse, Sri Radha replies to this proposal by the bumblebee, which is, again, it's not overtly in the verse. In the verse, the bumblebee is not speaking in any verse, the bumblebee is speaking. But in between the lines, she was hearing all the things according to the revelation of our child. So then Sri Radha will speak in the second half in a mild way, in a pitiful way, in a reasonable way, says Jiva Goswami. Say, by what method, will you take us to the side of your friend, who is now having relationships with the women of Mathura, who are so unlike us? Remember, Mathura is big city, aristocracy, Vrindavan is uncivilized village people, quote unquote, uncivilized and so on. So it's a totally different culture, a totally different DNA, psychology, language. All the ladies of Mathura speak like very refined manner and very refined. And all the ladies of Braj and all the Brajavas are just cowherders, just. So they are accustomed to speak shouting. If you go to Vrindavan, it's like that. Like, wow, what's going on here? But they are accustomed to shout because they are working with animals and they have to shout to the cows and to the bulls. So all of and the father is with the animals some part, and the wife at the house will go to the rooftop and shout to him, lunch is ready. All things like so. They are accustomed to dealing this type of, and they speak to animals all day long, so they kind of become like them. No, in the lila, so that's totally opposite to the refined mannerisms of the civilized aristocratic ladies, also of Mathura. What to speak Dwarka then? So Shirada says here, like we are so unlike those ladies. And you want to take us there and put there with all these other ladies? I mean, that will be rasavasa, totally. I mean, totally improper mixing of different natures and moods and styles. And on top of that, of course, Shirada implies, and for him, the relationships he has with them will be so difficult to give up. Because, I mean, if he remains there, he has not come back as he promised. It means he's really attached to them. Of course, that's not the real reason. It's not that he's not returning because of that. But she will conclude in this way. Oh, Bumblebee, she says, by your nature, you give happiness to all people. So since you are my friend, sorry if I'm speaking too quickly, why do you take me to his co-wives? You and Krishna, you Bumblebee and Krishna, says Radha, do not know my sorrow. Therefore, do not try to take me, who are suffering here in separation. Lakshmi herself has gone from Mathura, from here to Mathura with him, again in the form of Srivatsa. And she's keeping him there for her pleasure. So Jiva Goswami says the same. Here Radha speaks related to, in connection to Lakshmi with some hatred, competitor lover. And she resides on his chest with great happiness. Remember this tuft. So again, here, and Jiva Goswami clarifies, here Radha refers to the golden line in the chest of Krishna called Śrīvatsa. Śrīvatsa means the place of residence of Sri or Lakshmi. And then he concludes almost concludes his purpose by quoting another similar verse. He says, this is similar to the following verse. And then he quotes a famous verse from the Gopika-gita. Shirada says, Gopya kimachara kushalam shmavenur dhamodara dhara sudamapi upikanam bhungtesa yamjava abasista rasamaradinya isyatva chushrunu muchustara voja tharta. The first part of the verse, basically. Gopya kimachara kushalam shmavenur dhamodara dhara sudamapi upikanam. Radha's in the Bhramara-gita, she's hearing the sound of the flute, Krishna playing the flute in the distance. At this point, Sri Radha never met Krishna officially yet in the Lila. So he's saying, what auspicious activities must this flute have performed to be drinking the nectar of Krishna's lips uninterruptedly, and is not leaving even a drop of that for us, gopis, for whom that nectar is actually meant. No? So she's showing this type of envy, like the flute is a competitor lover who is drinking all the other amrita, all the nectar of the lips of Krishna. And when we hear the flute, actually, Shirada said, what we are hearing is the sound, the cries of ecstasy of the flute drinking the nectar of Krishna's lips. And we have to hear that. And we are not able to. He doesn't even, this flute doesn't even save a remnant for us. He's drinking everything. So with this type of transcendental envy showing her longing, actually. So again, it seems like envy, but actually, if you understand, it shows her longing of rendering seva to Krishna in the conjugal mood. So the conclusion, according to Jiva Goswami, is we cannot go to Mathura; it's not compatible. Therefore, bring him here. Ratha Yatra again. Bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. So Jiva Goswami concludes, in this verse, Radha expressed hatred, envy, and desire. Bring him here, please. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll go to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport next, famous Sarartha Darshani. Bear with me, these type of topics may take a little time, but I mean, we want eternity for this, so we are training for Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. The Bhagavatam says Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya. We are to render service to the Bhagavatam forever, for the rest of forever. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we will go back again to the beginning of the verse, which every single commentary we make, again, trying to make full circle. He says, though the bee was buzzing around near her, Radha, out of madness of prem, could not find the bee. So that's his vision. Like the bee was still there, but she was blinded by love. Love makes you see some things, makes you blind to other things. And non-love, they're the same thing. When you have lust, you see some things, so you are blinded to other things. So the final choice is, what do I want to see and what do I do not want to see? In which direction do I want to be attentive? In which direction do I want to be distracted? In which direction do I want to be aware? In which direction do I want to be unaware? That's free will, basically. So not seeing him for a moment, Radha pondered remorsefully. Alas, distressed by my harsh words, that messenger has gone off to Mathura and told everything that has happened to Krishna, who has now become indifferent to me. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues saying, thus, giving up her quarrelsome mood, Radha stared at the path to Mathura and said, when the bumblebee apparently went to Krishna, and she said, perhaps my beloved, that ocean of divine love and the crown jewel of all transcendental qualities, perhaps he will again send his messenger here. So she stared at that path and just looking in the horizon made that bumblebee return somehow or other. And suddenly she sees the bee, which was there already, but she just kind of connected, oh, bumblebee's coming again. So she rather said respectfully, oh, Priyasaka, oh, friend of my beloved, you have come back again. Though wounded by the arrows of my words, due to your saintly character, you have overlooked my offenses and returned. So she expressed herself with full humility. Can I understand that my beloved, out of intense love for me, has sent you here again, not considering my thousands of offenses? So at this point, Sri Radha feels herself in total aparadhi. I've been abusing Krishna for verse after verse, calling Krishna an aparadhi. Now I realize my offense. Of course, there's no offense, but she's feeling like this. So if she has sent you back, if he has sent you back, if that is so, then you should ask for whatever you wish from me, and I will fulfill all of your desires. O bee, according to Vishwanath, he says, O bee, Radha says to the bee, O bee, if you say I want you to go to Mathura, then I will answer, yes, I will go to Mathura. This seems like, wow, interesting. Radha is saying, yes, I will go to Mathura, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But right after saying that, Sri Radha thought, now when she said, I will go to Mathura, she said, but if I go to Mathura and see my beloved surrounded by other women, I will become uncontrollably, thank you so much, jealous. But again, she presents herself as an ordinary jealous lady. If I see Krishna with others, but we have seen so many times that she speaks to other ladies, you should meet Krishna, you should reach the goal of your life, you can give so much happiness to him. So she's not actually jealous, but that counts as a sanctuary bhav, nourishing the particular bhav here. Thus, so immediately she said, I will go to Mathura, immediately say, no, but if I go to Mathura, this will happen. I won't go to Mathura. Thus, Radha next said, Nayasikatam. She said to the bumblebee, why are you taking me to Krishna, who cannot give up loving affairs? Lampata. So thinking that the bee replied to her, I swear that Krishna is all alone in Mathura. There's another version. One previous version was, yes, he's with ladies, but he will give them up when you go. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur presents another portal when the bumblebee says to Sri Radha, no, Krishna is totally alone there in Mathura. No ladies. Then Radha will reply again with the last line of this verse. Oh, you Soumya, bumblebee, gentle one with pure intelligence. Krishna's consort Lakshmi is always by his side. So even if all the other ladies are not there, she is there. Do not like to, do not cheat on me. And always is on his chest, taking shelter of him. And the verse is next to his heart. I mean, it's as close as possible to him. Heart. And this goddess of fortune, Sri Lakshmi, which is many verses, Sri Radha insults almost Lakshmi, who is like the most venerable chaste lady in the universe. But nonetheless, it's the expansion of Sri Radha. So she has the right to abuse her own expansions, if you will. So here Sri Radha says, this Lakshmi has the power to assume many different forms. Thus, when Krishna is enjoying with other women, and Lakshmi is not there, Lakshmi still is there in the form of this golden tuft of hair. And when Krishna is not consorting with other women, then Lakshmi puts aside that hair-like form and appears in her natural form of a beautiful young woman, giving him pleasure in this way. So, this is some words by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in connection to Sri Radha's verse here. And then he concludes by sharing with us which type of Chitra Jalpa is this. Again, we are following mad talk here, but mad talk in divine love. So our hope is, may I become mad as well. It's like if you go with someone who is clinically mad in this world, secular madness, and you just remain all day long, at one point you start like to, this starts to make sense. You start to have the conversation and come in and go, and it makes sense, and you are there. You became mad like them. Eventually you receive your certificate also like clinically mad, officially. So by association, we attain a type of sobriety or madness. So our hope by hearing all these conversations in divine madness is, may we become mad as well. May we become, what do you say? It's something is contagious, but what's the verb? Contracted off with, okay. May we receive this epidemic as well in ourselves. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur then analyzes what should Radha say to share with us which type of Chitra Jalpa is this, of these 10 type of mad talks. So he says, although Radhika respects the bee in this verse in the beginning and accepts his statements as true, she then rejects them after showing how they are inappropriate, when saying, why do you want to take us with him and so on. So this is an example of Prati Jalpa. All of these Chitra Jalpas are called Bijalpa, Abijalpa, Sujalpa, Jalpa Jalpa, Prati Jalpa in this case, which Srila Rupa Goswami describes in the following way in Ujjval Nilamani. He says, humble statements expressing respect for the messenger, but with refusal to meet Krishna because of his licentious relationships with other women, that's called Pratijalpa. So you see, you read this verse and it perfectly fits with this verse of the Bhramara Gītā, this description. So in this way, our acharyas were like doing all these connections and okay, this verse is this type of Chitra Jalpa and so on. So as usual, let's go one more time to the verse, but in the form as was presented by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He wrote a poeticized version in Bengali of this verse. We will share the English translation of it. Let's one more time go in there. So he says, when the gopi, of course the gopi is Sri Radha, When the gopis saw that the bumblebee, after hearing all those statements, went away and then returned, she thought for a while and then said, and then comes the verse, "You are a dear friend of Krishna, and on his order, you have come back here from there, from Mathura, from Krishna. Therefore, you are worshipable for me, O best of messengers. Ask me for what you want. What is your desire?" Sri Krishna will never renounce the conjugal love. But why should you now bring the gopis to him? His consort Lakshmi is staying at the Lord's chest, constantly serving him now, that I can tell you. So again, we see in this, as we see, this verse represents a very interesting change of mood as to what Sri Radha was speaking. And she suddenly starts to praise the bumblebee and praise Krishna, "Oh, my beloved, send you back, he's so generous." But in the same verse, she switches and again starts to criticize. And so this type of, I mean, along the Bhramara Gita, we're seeing this, but in this verse in particular, we see a much more clear change of mood, which further shows how Sri Radha's Divya Mad is reaching new, higher peaks. So before concluding today, I want to share you another verse, which shows the same principle of like roller coaster modifications of Bhav, from one book called Krishna Karnamrita, famous book written by Bilba Mangala Thakur, and a famous verse there, verse number 40. I will share just in case in the chat, also if you would like to check it there and share it in the Facebook streaming. This is a very nice verse that also Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple, who has very deep affinity for Priyanarma Sakhya Bhav, he used to sing this. If you hear some of the tapes with Krishna Das Babaji singing Kirtan, he will recite this verse many times. So in this verse, according to Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, is recited by Sri Radha. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami wrote a commentary to Krishna Karnamrita. So the verse says like this: "He Deva he Daita he Bhuvanaika Bandhu, he Krishna he Chapala he Karunaika Sindhu, he Nata he Ramana he Nayana Virama, ha ha kadanu bhavitasi padam drishorme." So this verse is basically a list of names that Sri Radha uses to address Krishna, one after the other, with he in between. He means like, oh. But we will see how each name is indicating a particular switch in the mode of Sri Radha, like accepting Krishna, rejecting Krishna, accepting Krishna, rejecting Krishna. Again, go to this dynamic of union, separation. So what's the meaning of the verse? Basically, it says like this: "O playboy, O protector, O soul friend in the world, O attractor, O fickle one, O soul ocean of mercy, O master, O enjoyer, O the light of the eye. When will you be visible to me?" So let's now go to Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami commentary in the verse, when he very clearly point which type of mood is present in each one of these names. To begin with, he's saying here Sri Radha is expressing what is known as Bhava Sandhi. Bhava Sandhi. Bhava means Bhava, emotions, ecstasy, and Sandhi means like mixture. So again, it's not one single emotion altogether, but it's like we spoke the other day, Anishtita Bhayana Kriya, ups and downs, oscillation. Well, here you have the Adi oscillation, the original divine oscillation coming and going here and there. I will be briefly describing this, not because it can be too long. So the first name she uses is Deva, which Deva means generally God, but also Deva comes from the root, the dhatu, Div. Div means to play. So as my Guru Maharaj will say, he who can play the most is the most powerful. You need power to play. So that aspect of divinity that only plays, that's the highest form of divinity, and that's Krishna. He's only playing. He has nothing to do. But also Deva here means like play, someone who plays and who is a boy is called a
Playboy.
Playboy. So he's a playboy. So that's how this word deva is translated in the lips of Sri Radha. You are a boy that plays. You are a playboy. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will say, thinking that Krishna is enjoying with another lady and being angry because of that, Sri Radha calls him deva here, or playboy, or enjoyer of other women, basically. No? So she's showing that particular attitude there. No? Not happy with that. So we go to the second name immediately coming after that. Hedeva, Hedaita. Daita means like one who gives protection, who is die out, who is mercy, protector in this case. So Krishnadas Kaviraj will say, thinking that Krishna has gone with these other ladies because of Radha's disrespect, something similar to this verse, Sri Radha repents and speaks with impatience to see him. Immediately, 1 second after saying the other word. Say, oh, the Hedaita, oh protector, you are the protector of my life. How can you give me up? Please, show yourself again. Crying and crying, praying to Krishna. But after that, just 1 microsecond after that, you will say, hey, Bhuvanaika Bandhu. Bhuvanaika Bandhu means like, you are the soul. Bhuvanaika Bandhu, Bhuvanaika Sindhu, Bhuvanaika Bandhu, yeah, like soul friend of the whole universe, something like this. Bhuvana means this world, Ika means unique, and Bandhu means friend. So Sri Radha, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami says, thinking that Krishna has returned to console her, thinking, some maybe not the actual truth, but she's feeling that in her heart, fault finding arises in Radha. From that she speaks with sarcasm and crooked words. Oh, you soul ocean and friend of the world. Oh, Bhuvanaika Sindhu. What fault do you have? You belong not only to me, but to all the gopis, no? Because you are the friend of all the world. I can play. You are friends with everyone, with all ladies. Moreover, you are the friend of all the women in the world who are attracted to your flute. Go then and satisfy all of them. So immediately, 1 minute before, she was crying for Krishna to reappear. Now she's sending him far away. Then comes the next name, which is Krishna. Hey, Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj says, thinking he has gone again, she speaks with a manifestation of mati, or consideration, following after autsukya, or impatience. And she says, oh Krishna, oh Shamsundar, attractor of the heart, you have soul in my heart. What is the use of my pride? Show yourself even once. So again, she's imploring for him to reappear. But immediately, hey Chapala. Chapala means like fickle. Fickle, you say? Yeah. Like unstable, basically. So then Radha thinks Krishna has returned. So and Krishna has returned, she hears all this by saying to her, oh dearest, Krishna speaking to Radha, her vision, I was outside, I didn't go anywhere. Please be satisfied, I'm here back. So Sri Radha will speak to Krishna in anger. Oh fickle one, hey Chapala. Lecture for the cowherd woman, stealer of other wives. Go. No. But then will come Karunayaka Sindhu. Hey Karunayaka Sindhu, only ocean of mercy. So thinking he has again left, because she herself told him, go. So thinking he has again left, she speaks pitifully out of feeling disqualified, dainya, feeling oneself very low and fallen. And she thought, oh, being disrespected, he has gone and will not return. Thus she said, oh, Karunayaka Sindhu, soul ocean of mercy, though I am an offender, please show yourself, since you are soft with grace. So again, she's imploring and crying profuse tears. Again, this is not a show. She's just mad for Krishna. Love is the very personification of this divine madness. And then comes another name. It's Nata, not. That means like master, basically. So thinking Krishna has again returned, And Krishna is trying to console her by saying to Radha, "Dearest, why do you wrongly torture me out of anger? Please be satisfied with my presence here." Then Sri Radha speaks indifferently, directing to Krishna as, "Oh Master, you are the protector of the inhabitants in Braj. What unintelligent woman will not speak to you? But I have accepted a vow of silence along with the Brahmana woman of Braj. So you should excuse my offense, but I won't talk to you." And then comes the name. We have two more names here. Ramana. Now here Ramana. So the Ramana means like enjoyer, basically. So thinking that Krishna has gone away again, with the rise of insolence, she thinks he has been driven away constantly. He will not return this time. In humility, she speaks, "If he mercifully shows himself again, I will embrace him by the neck. Oh, enjoyer, Hey Ramana, enjoy me always. You are the enjoyer. Come now and enjoy me." That's how what Radha is saying here to Krishna. And finally, one more name, which is Nayana Viram, which means like delight for the eyes. Nayana means eyes, and Abhiram means delight. So thinking Krishna has returned again, with a mood of eclipsed incidental indignation, while the mind is overcome with strong natural impatience, Radha spreads her arms to embrace Krishna. Even though Krishna is not there, she's just hallucinating in divine madness. But she does not attain him. She then speaks in great agitation after having seen him in a temporary spurti, or like vision. "Oh Nayana Viram, delight for the eyes, when will you be visible to my eyes?" So then comes the last line of the verse, "Ha ha," which means indicates great distress. "Kada anubhavitashi padam drishurme, when will you be visible to me again?" So again, this is a famous example of Krishna Karnamrita, a little bit more extreme than what we were saying today, but one single word was making Sri Radha's boat of love rocking in one direction and the other, one direction and the other. So you can imagine at this point how Uddhava must be going, what must be going in Uddhava. I mean, we cannot imagine actually, but try to say Uddhava is there. He was sent as a messenger. He's supposed to open his mouth and try to give some advice to the Brajavasi, but till now, no single word was coming from him. He was totally like flabbergasted. But again, receiving deep bhakti samskars would make him understand. So this is expressed in the Srimad-Bhagavatam also. I would like to share some brief points before finishing, with your permission. It is said that in Srimad-Bhagavatam at one point, Narad Muni wanted to send Gopakumar to Dwarka. From Dwarka to Jagannath Puri. For him to upgrade his inner affinity. But Uddhava was there and he gave another advice. He said, no, better send him to Vrindavan. Here we are speaking about, the point is, Uddhava said, send Gopakumar to Vrindavan on earth. I'm speaking too quick? No. Okay. So the point is, the idea was how we upgrade Gopakumar's bhav. So Uddhava said, send him to earth in Vrindavan. Like implying, I've been there. I know what does it mean to witness the emptiness of Vrindavan. To take darshan of the Brajavasis in separation from Krishna. So Uddhava said, "O sage," to Narada, when Gopakumar comes to Braj, he will become very humble and his humility will create prem. This prem will make him see that the forests, the rivers, and the mountains of Braj are as if empty. He will constantly cry out, "Oh, alas," and his heart will severely burn with anguish when he searches for his beloved Krishna. Implying he needs to go through those circles of fire to attain his ultimate goal. No, there's no better place for this. That go and witness the separation of the Brajavasi, that's the best place. Again, Uddhava is speaking here after having been witnessed this Bhramara-gita. He knew by direct experience, oh my God, my own bhava is being upgraded by witnessing what's going on here. So again, union and separation. They say like love is like a, how do you say in English, like a golden coin with two sides. You say sides? So union, separation. And Krishna is Rasaraj, which means he's the king of all tastes. So he has to taste it from all possible angles. It's not only enough for union. That's boring. That's half of the equation. No, he has to taste the rasa experience completely, tip to toe, left to right, up and down. Two sides of the coin, union and separation. So it is said that in this way, Sri Krishna will relish rasa from this like twin polarity. Sambhog, vipralamba, union, separation. And again, especially in separation, we see the overtly glory of the Brajavasis love. Sometimes in union, you may think, oh, they are just enjoying. They are together playing, enjoying. It seems ordinary, but in separation, you see the degree of love and what they say and what they feel, and you realize, oh, that union was not ordinary. So much charged with selflessness. It is said that in this world, with all respect to all the mothers present here, to my mother as well, the love of the mother is considered the most noble one. Generally, that's the closest parallel to spiritual love because of the degree of sacrifice that is involved there. But at the same time, on some level, there is some degree of selfishness because I love my child. What about all the other children of the world? And again, I'm not condemning any of you. I'm just saying you need to feel this is my child, and because if not, you won't be identified enough to nourish in that direction, and you cannot just breastfed the whole children on planet Earth. So you need, the whole system is made in such a way that you will identify, because if you are not that identified, the child won't survive. The child needs the mother to be absorbed. But again, putting in contrast with, Radha's Bhav, of course, we say in this world there is some, even in the most dedicated mother, generally some degree of my child still. Yeah. But if you will take that glorious motherly love, which is still totally glorious, and put all the motherly love on earth and this world, compact that, thicken that as much as you can, compress that cannot still compare to Brajabhav. So that's it. And you ultimately want to speak with Padmanabha. So again, not to criticize motherly love, but to highlight that love, and naturally, even for a mother or for whoever, all these types of exhibitions of love. When you see Jashoda's motherly love, you're like, your mind is blown away. So the idea is, even the most noble love of this world, put all this together, is not comparable to the one drop of this Brajabhav, which may seem ordinary, but it's not. It's not. Especially, and again, in separation, this comes to the fore. When Sri Radha is tasting Adiruddha Mahabhav, especially called Mohanakya Mahabhav, which is the state described in this Bhramara-gita, herself in separation. It is said that Sri Radha's separation, feelings of separation, causes such an agitation that the whole universe cries along with her, basically. When she cries, the whole universe joins in symphony, because it's so transcendentally pathetic, if you will. All the non-human species even cry, not only human species. And again, we have to bear this in mind. This is transcendental. The ocean of Sri Radha's suffering drowns the whole universe in an ocean of distress. And we should find a taste in that. It's not I don't want that to happen. But it's a poetic way of extolling how everything, because we may not be aware of that, but it is said that the whole Śrīmatī-lila, the whole creation originally, ultimately is connected with what's going on in the topmost lila. There is some connection between one and the other. We say this world is a distorted version of that world. So it means something has happened. Here is distress, there is distress. So somehow or other, there is a line between the two. sometimes they say that Sri Radha is suffering so much in separation from Krishna. Even when Krishna goes to Chandravali or other gopi to create proper modes with Radha, when he's embracing other gopi, he's remembering Radha's suffering in separation and he faints. And maybe the other gopi thinks, oh, Krishna loves me so much, he has just fainted because of my embrace. It's just fainting because of thinking Radha's suffering in separation. And the union is created again. So she's Krishna, she's full of Krishna from outside, from inside. One nice name for Sri Radha is Krishnamai. Krishnamai, which means Mai means full of. So what's your name? Full of Krishna. I'm only full of that. Krishnamai, Krishna Yara Bittari Bahire, Yan Jahan Janha Netrapade, Taha Krishna Spure, says Krishna Das Kaviraj. Krishnamai means ones who's within and without are Krishna. Her within is Krishna. Her without is Krishna. She sees Krishna wherever she casts her glance. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. That's why you say Sri Radha's eyes are blue. Not only because they are blue, but because she has only eyes for the blue one, for Shyam Sundar. So that's her disposition. No? I cannot live without you. If you appear, no, this is also said in Krishna Karnamrita, verse 29. No? She says, if you are pleased and show yourself to me at this time, what need do I have of others? And you are not pleased and you do not show yourself to me, what need do I have of others? In other words, Krishna Mai, only you, only you. So over and over again, we have to, it's recommended we have to expose ourselves to this type of narration, even if it's way above our heads, somehow or other some mercy drops will fall on us and will just at least give us this glimpse of there is a totally different universe made of bhava. And we are being invited there. So anyhow, some ideas we want to share today with all of you regarding this penultimate verse of Bhramara Gītā. So hopefully you can follow if you want to know how this all ends. We will continue next Monday. I won't be here, but you can follow online. And I think after that we'll have like 5 another meetings, like trying to make a conclusion to all this stuff. So we have 4 months or so. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, we will invite whoever is present here online in Zoom, present here with us on Facebook, to make whatever question you may have. Okay. Radha Giridhari first.
Okay.
Ladies first, please.
I want to ask about conditional and unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what you said about the mother's love. This is some kind of conditional love because I identify with this type of love to my child. This is my child, so I'm in the role. This is my possible somehow. So one would think that a higher state would be unconditional love. But how is in the spiritual world? Because somehow I think that they love Krishna because of something like I love him because he's my beloved, or he's my son, or he's my some kind of other type of mind.
Yeah, but he's Krishna.
Yeah,
that's the difference. No? I mean, there's no problem in actually prem or divine love is described by Rupa Goswami as one of the main characteristics of prem is mamata. So mamata means possessiveness or a sense of my. It's my. So it's not that it's devoid of that. We are not against I, me, mine. On one side we hear, for example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, what's samsara? Samsara generally is translated as repeated cycle of birth and death. He said, well, to be more practical, samsara means aham mameti, which means to live your life with this idea, I, me, mine. I, and my sense of I depends on what belongs to me. And according to what belongs to me, I am something. You are my child, therefore I am a mother. You are my husband, therefore I am a wife. But the problem with all those sense of self is that all those relationships are temporary. as we spoke the other day, you are my child in this lifetime, but not necessarily in every single lifetime for eternity. You are my, with it again, I'm not, hopefully you understand that I'm not trying to promote like fanatic sannyasi stuff, like all of you are in Maya, you should not love each other. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying keep the relationship in context, which means do not give to that relationship the eternality that you should give to your relationship with Krishna. To follow. If you absolutize your temporary relationship, probably you are relativizing your absolute connection with Krishna. You follow. If you feel my child or my husband to be an eternal, unending relationship, probably you will see your link with Krishna in temporary terms. You follow. So the point is, it's not a problem to love your child and your husband and so on. The point is to understand this is not my permanent rasa or staiva with these persons. But gradually I will start to relate ideally to my children, husband, wife, in terms of not only my, but who they are. Because actually, you follow my point, I may tell you, you are my wife. No, actually, you are who you are. I mean, you are someone. Particularly, you're not my something. You are you. And who you are, of course, has to do with soul and potential of the Atma. So gradually, the relationship should mature to that level. I'm relating to everyone as Atma in accordance with their potential in connection to our common goal. We have a common goal. So our eternal potential can meet in that common goal. There is place for that as well. But if I insist only of you are mine and I'm yours, and this relation that is just finishing at every moment, yeah. I mean, of course, sometimes the scripture will speak strongly, and we thought, oh, this is too much. But then you will cry when that's happening, basically. So the sages want to prevent from unnecessary suffering. So when Krishna is that center, there's no problem because he's an eternal person and there's eternal relationship with him. So if you have a feeling of being a friend with Krishna, being a lover, no problem, because that mamata or that possessiveness is perpetual, basically. So the only problem with I, me, mine, or the only problem with attachment is when you project that to a temporary situation. It's not a problem in itself. Actually, it's the ultimate solution. When you learn to dovetail and express your mindness in relation to our common goal and source and eternal relationship, I mean, you reach the goal of your life, basically, when you did that. That's Prem described. Everyone in Golok will feel Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my this, Krishna is my that. So, no problem, because he's Krishna. The problem is when we direct those emotions that we should direct to Krishna to someone else who is not Krishna. So the best thing I can do for my son is not to treat him as Krishna, but to treat Krishna as Krishna, and my son as my son in relation to Krishna. So when I treat my son in relation to Krishna, he's no longer my son in one point. The main connection, of course, I understand. You are just having a baby, and I'm not trying to dilute your vatsalya. No, because again, that's necessary. I mean, you need to really identify with that and nourish that. And I'm not saying that's Maya or something like that, but one should remain sober about understanding this is a stage of the relationship. It's not that it will be always like this. And I'm not saying this like it will get worse. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just, again, if Christina comes in 15 years and tells, Ma, give me breast milk again, I would say no. But it was so nice. You remember you say, oh, it was so nice. Yeah, it was so nice. But now we can experience something even nicer. You follow? I mean, now it's not the moment maybe to think too much about that. You have to identify with your role. But we know by experience that that's not the all in all. It's not that I will be breastfeeding. And maybe you will feel, I would like to do that forever. Okay, you can do that with Krishna. There's place for eternal breastfeeding. So no problem.
My question is more, do the brother Basis, they feel spiritual conditional love to Krishna, or is it unconditional? I mean, do they love him because of something like I love him because he's my son? Or,
No.
They
No. I love him and therefore he is my son. Now, for example, we gave the example the other day, for example, Balaram and Krishna, which is the relationship between Balaram and Krishna.
What is the relationship?
Yeah, between the link between them.
They're brothers.
No, they are not brothers.
Okay, they're friends.
I mean, they are friends also, but you say brothers. But who is their parents? Who is the father of Balaram? Who is the mother of Balaram?
Mother.
No.
Rohini.
So,
Yeah, Rohini.
who is the mother of Krishna? Rohini? No.
Yeah.
So they are not brothers.
Yeah.
So why you say they're brothers?
No,
I mean, you are correct. I'm not saying you are wrong. But the point is, they're not brothers. By blood, they're not brothers. But they feel like brothers. So in Vrindavan, the psychologist first is the feeling, and then the relationship is established. I love you as my brother, you are my brother. Even though you are not my brother. In this world, it's the opposite. First, the relationship is established, and then the feeling comes, or may not come. Like, okay, he's my brother. Well, I suppose I should love him. I may not feel too much brotherly love, but he's my brother, so let's try it. In Vrindavan is the opposite. He's not even my brother, but I love him like a brother. So that's how it's established. He's my brother. The same with Jashoda. If you want to say Jashoda is not the real mother of Krishna, it's Devaki, let's make that argument. Of course, we have another idea, but even if someone says Jashoda is the foster mother of Krishna, but she feels I'm her mother. And even in Kurukshetra, when they meet again in the solar eclipse, as we spoke these days, when Jashoda goes and starts to breastfeed Krishna, remember that she entered and said, well, I'm the mother of Krishna. And everyone said, no, Devaki is the mother of Krishna. But Krishna said, let them enter. And Jashoda goes running and Krishna jumps into her lap and starts to drink her breast milk. She was 100-something years old. And Devaki sees such a degree of maternal love for Krishna, and Devaki says to Jashoda, you are the real mother. Yeah. Even though I'm officially her mother, you are mother. So again, the point is, it's not that Jashoda officially is Krishna's mother and then comes the feeling. No? Since he's my son, then I love him as a son. No, he's not my son, but I love him like a son. So he's my son. So that's how it works in Vrindavan. It's a natural attraction. They're ragatmikas. Ragatmikas mean they're made of the whole psyche, the whole mind-body, transcendental mind-body complex is made of attachment, particular attachment for Krishna. So it's not like, okay, he's this, so let's love him like that. That's what makes love conditional.
This is in our world.
Yeah, basically. Okay, he's my son, so I love him as a man. But what if he's not your son? Why to limit that? So of course we are to learn big lessons also in our trying to do our best in this world, in our loving relationships, but always putting in context with this high idea of unconditional love we find in Christ. And nobody loves Krishna. Of course, you know that idea. Nobody loves Krishna in Vrindavan because he's God. That will be the main reason for someone. Like, we know Krishna is God, so let's love him because he's God. But nobody will believe that. That's another shocking idea generally, because okay, you love here people because of but when we say God, of course, God is to be loved. We have to love God. And someone say that's why everyone in Vrindavan loves Krishna because he's God. When you go to Vrindavan and realize nobody agrees with that. Nobody sees Krishna as God, but still they love him. That's what Uddhava was short-circuiting what he was speaking with Nanda and Jashoda. Say, you are so fortunate. You love God as your son. He said, no, you're wrong here. You're wrong. He's not God. Yeah, I love him as a son because he's my son, but he's not God. So for Uddhava was like, what's this? What type of love is this? Yes, totally unconditional love, just moved by attraction. Krishna is the all attractive, and the rest are they all attracted. to serve Krishna in a particular way. No matter if he's my son or he's my brother or not, I don't care. That's totally secondary. I just love him in that way, and nothing else matters, basically. Yeah, some yes. Some questions there in the Nordic side.
I think mine's fast, maybe. You mentioned
question maybe faster.
Yeah, I'm hoping answer. You mentioned, was it Akinchan Krishna Das Babaji?
He liked this verse.
He was singing, but he's in Prayanarma, Sakya Rasa. So how you see it? I don't see the connection, him singing this song. The way that you spoke about all those meanings of the names.
Well, of course, the meaning of these names can take different forms as well. We are reading the reading of Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, who wrote the commentary, and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is not the Priyanarma Saka, he's Manjulali Manjari. So he's saying all this through the filter of her Manjari Bhav, disposition. So all these names can be totally applied to different types of moods as well. So that will be a beginning way of saying that, no? Because all these explanations were coming from Krishna Das Kaviraj, so Madhurya Rasa perspective. But the point is that if you go to Krishna Das Kaviraj, who is a Priyanarma Saka also includes Madhurya Rasa sensibility there. Of course, in a different way, but still that side is. I mean, the Priyanarma Sakas are aware of Radha's moods, no? Union, separation, rejecting Krishna. I mean, they are like, what do you say? They are instrumental in facilitating, along with the manjaris from the other camp, the reunion and all this. So, I mean, there's place for someone like Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, Priyanarma Saka, reading this verse like for a moment, like connecting with Sri Radha's moods towards Krishna. But again, I will say mainly is the reading we share today is more biased, if you will, towards the manjaris side, who are Radha's Nihadika. Radha's Nihadika means they are totally partial to the Swamini and mistress, while the Priyanarma Saka will be more inclined towards Krishna's side, although there are some moments where there will be some different nuances, and that and the other will Priyanarma Sakas may support Radha's case, manjaris may support Krishna's case in some level, but in the end, they are always supporting their own masters or mistresses, if you will. So there is place for Priyanarma Saka to read that in those lines as well. Yeah, it was fast. So last question, I think, from Sivanidhi.
We heard, or I heard, that amongst the six Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, envy cannot be engaged in service of. So, but you mentioned sometimes during this class that you can.
Yeah, I will say that statement is made by Narottam Das Thakur. No, he speaks about these six so-called enemies. I mean, not so-called enemies, called enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. Like last, Kama, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greed, Mada, like madness, Moha, illusion, and Matsarya, illusion, pride, and Matsarya, envy. So he generally gives examples. I will engage my last will be desire, having desire for whatever, worshiping Krishna. Now, I will direct my anger, as Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta will say famously, against the enemies of Krishna. But first I will ask to myself, I am not an enemy of Krishna till now. And in that case, I'll be angry with myself. Not in the way of masochism, but discipline. Lobha, greed. I will be greedy, lobha, laulyam, the raga, marga, and so on. He says all these anarthas, the energy of these anarthas can be dovetailed in the context of, but mostly he's speaking from the from the platform of being a sadhaka. No? He himself, of course, Narottam Das Thakur is way beyond that, but he humbly speaks as a sadhaka. What to do with all this stuff, all this lust and greed and anger that is coming. We are not to eliminate stuff, like to kill everything, but just to learn how to redirect that particular impulse in a favorable way. And that's when he says at the end, but regarding envy, I don't know how to use that in service. Like his point is, this is the most undesirable thing, basically. That's his main point. Of course, when you reach the lila and make full circle, envy is there again. Like he's mostly speaking from the platform of sadhaka. So sadhaka is another realm of possibilities. In one sense, more limited to what will happen in the lila, where envy and fear and all this stuff is nourishing the lila. But sadhakas, we may be able to chant, to use desire, anger, and greed, and so on. But envy, oh, I'm complaining. You have to be really in a really deep situation to express envy to give pleasure to Krishna. Generally, it's the most undesirable thing we should avoid. It's the total opposite to the ideal of bhakti. So that's the main point. Be careful with this envy, because envy basically means to be unable. That's one definition classically, which is embarrassing, because you, in the sense of you hear that and say, oh my God, I'm not that far from that. Envy means unable to tolerate the success of others, basically. Unable, try to play out the implications of that. Unable to tolerate the success of others. But Thakur expresses that in his humility in Sharanagati. When others are suffering, I'm happy. When others are happy, I'm suffering. That's the same idea, basically. So okay, it's embarrassing. Let's say I have that on some level, or I mean, it's not you have it or you don't have it. There are so many shades of that. And of course, the idea we have to totally get rid from this tendency more and more. So, and be careful of directing that towards the Vaishnavas, because that can translate into aparat. But that's one point why, and with this I close. Thank you so much for your patience here and online, already almost 2 hours. But Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, his Mana Shiksha, I remember Brigupad Prabhu made this nice point when he gave his seminar on this. Raghunath Das Goswami said, be careful with lust, anger, greed, these enemies. And someone may say, well, I mean, those enemies are not aparad in themselves. They're just papa or sin. So bhakti is not really affected by sin. It may be just like delayed for a moment by progress, but it's not that the bhakti I have is intrinsically affected by those enemies, because only aparat can really affect bhakti. But the point is, if you indulge in all the things, lust, greed, in your relationship with the Vaishnavas, that becomes aparat. You follow? If you engage in lust, greed, anger, envy, in your sadhu sangha, the risk is that's no longer papa sin, but aparat, offense. So that's why the church said, be careful with these things. If you are like Jagai Madai, I don't know how they did that, but they were killing people and stealing, but never they did anything of that to a Vaishnava. So they were selective in their crimes, basically. Stealing, killing, abusing, but never Vaishnava. So there was no aparat in their and that's why to say they received this special grace. But when you direct all those sinful tendencies in your relation with the Vaishnava, there's another realm, more delicate altogether. So that can become aparat, and that's why the Acharyas say be careful with all this, and especially with envy. If you envy Vaishnava, yeah, we are not here to instill fear. No, you will go to hell. But I mean, we cannot also say, oh, that's the same, no problem. No, be careful of that. Take care of that, because especially when those tendencies are expressed into the most sacred realm of bhakti. So, something like this. We will continue tomorrow with some other topics. So, thank you so much for your time, your presence. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Jagannath Balad Subhadra ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Grantara Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Bhramara-gita ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Hari Bol.